used to say to myself,
Especially him.
wouldn't it be wonderful if all of this turned out to be true?
He's very optimistic.
I'm now thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful for people to know all of this is true?
You already know what I'm about to say, because you've felt it for years. That feeling in your gut when Hollywood puts out another fictional movie that hits a little too close to home. And look, I need you to stay with me here, because what I'm about to show you isn't a movie review. It's not a trailer breakdown. This is something else entirely. The final trailer dropped for Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg's name is all over it. Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Coleman Domingo, and on the surface, it's another slick Universal Pictures production about UFOs and government secrets. But here's the thing they don't want you to notice. The trailer includes actual interview footage of Spielberg himself saying, and I quote, "I used to say to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of this turned out to be true? I'm now thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful for people to know all of this is true?" Now, pause right there. Just like I know that Steven Spielberg doesn't say things by accident. Not a man who's spent 50 years inside the belly of the beast. Not a man who's been blackballed before, silenced before, told to keep his mouth shut before. And yet here he is, at 78 years old, breaking a silence that's lasted 79 years. Let me take you back to something you probably haven't heard about. Or maybe you have, and you just didn't know who to trust with it. In 1977, Spielberg made Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and everyone called it fiction, a fun sci-fi movie. But inside that film, buried in the script, were details that actual military whistleblowers had been trying to leak for a decade. The shapes of the craft, the way they moved, the effect on electronics, the way certain people seemed to be drawn to them. Richard Dreyfuss's character wasn't just a movie role. He was a composite of real people the government had been tracking since the 1950s. And here's where it gets interesting. Actually, wait, let me rephrase that. Here's where it gets dangerous. Because after Close Encounters came out, Spielberg went quiet on the subject for years, decades. He made E.T.'s sweet, sentimental safe. He made Jurassic Park, Monsters in a Cage, Not in the Sky. He made Schindler's List, important, but completely different. And the reason for that, well, you'll see. But now he's back. And he's not hiding behind metaphors anymore. The new trailer shows a young girl in the snow, a deer turning into something else. A government official played by Colin Firth saying, "The human race cannot accept what we know." And then the kicker, Spielberg himself looking straight into the camera, saying the 79th year cover-up of the truth has to end. 79 years. That number isn't random. You already know that. 1947. Roswell, that's the year everything changed. The year the military picked up pieces of something that wasn't ours. The year the cover-up began. And now Spielberg is counting down the years out loud on a major studio's marketing campaign. This wasn't a slip of the tongue, not an accident at all. So here's the breadcrumb, and I want you to really feel this next part, because this is the moment where everything starts to connect. Coleman Domingo's character in the film, he plays a podcaster, an investigator, someone who's been digging for years while everyone called him crazy. And in the trailer, he says, "People have a right to know the truth." And then the camera cuts to Spielberg agreeing with him. Now ask yourself, why would Steven Spielberg, one of the most powerful directors in the history of Hollywood, attach his face, his voice, his reputation to a movie that basically says the federal government has been lying to you your entire life? Why now? Why at 78? Why when he doesn't need the money, doesn't need the fame, doesn't need another award? Here's what I think, and I need you to listen to me closely right now. Slow down for a second. Quiet, personal moment. I think Spielberg knows something. I think he's known it for a very long time. And I think he's been waiting until he was old enough, powerful enough, untouchable enough to say it out loud without getting buried. Because people who talk about this stuff have a funny way of disappearing, not dying of old age. Disappearing, losing funding, losing credibility, getting labeled conspiracy theorists, which is a word I refuse to use, because the moment they call you that, they've already won. Back to regular intensity, now let me name some names. Not to hurt anyone, but because you deserve to know. In 2001, Dr. Stephen Greer held a press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. 21 military, intelligence, and government witnesses testified under oath about UFO crashes, recovered craft, and non-human entities. Mainstream media barely covered it. Why? Because if they covered it, you'd have questions. And those questions would lead to other questions. And those questions would lead to the FBI's own files that were declassified in the 1970s, and then quietly reclassified in the 1990s for no legal reason. You can look this up yourself. I'm not telling you to believe me. I'm telling you to go see for yourself. And here's the piece that really gets me, the religious angle. Because you and I both know, the people running this cover up aren't atheists. They're not skeptics. They're some of the most ritualistic, symbol-obsessed elites you've ever seen. The same families, the same bloodlines, the same secret societies that have been manipulating world events for centuries. And if non-human intelligence is real, if there's something else out there, then everything they've built their power on starts to crumble. Because you can't control people who know the truth, just like I know. That's why they fight so hard to keep this buried. Spielberg's film isn't just a movie. It's a weapon. A truth bomb wrapped in a summer blockbuster. And the fact that Universal Pictures is letting him do it, that tells me the walls are finally cracking. But here's my anger, and I'm not going to hide it from you. For 79 years, the American people have been lied to. Your tax dollars funded the cover-up. Your government signed secret treaties. Your media laughed at every whistleblower. And now Steven Spielberg, a man who built his career inside that same corrupt system, has to pretend he's just making another movie so he doesn't get blackballed or worse. That's not justice. That's not transparency. That's not what this country was founded on. So here's my question to you, and I want you to answer it in the comments because the algorithm needs to see this conversation happening. If you had proof, real, undeniable, documented proof, that the government had been hiding the truth about non-human intelligence for 79 years, would you still trust them to tell you the truth about anything else? About vaccines? About wars? About the economy? About what really happened to your children's futures? You already know the answer, don't you? Don't let them silence this. Share the video. Talk about it. Because the only thing more powerful than their cover-up is us finally refusing to look away. And look, I'll be watching Disclosure Day on June 12th, not for entertainment, for confirmation, for the next breadcrumb. Because if Spielberg is brave enough to break his silence, then we need to be brave enough to listen.